Here's a new recording. I'm going to show you in AutoCAD kind of a quick way to make perspective lines. So I'm going to pick a line to go along. I'm going to go right along from here. And I'm not going to go way out there, but that looks like I'm really traveling along that line pretty well. And I'll do the same thing on this one. And I think I've got it pretty close. So I can use this thing called fillet. Click, click, and it brings them together way out here somewhere. So now if I want another perspective line, say the bottom of these windows, I can pick along the bottom of some windows. That looks pretty good. And I can do that fillet again, and I'll just see. Wow, those are coming out really close to each other. Where the other one was back here a little bit. But those are pretty darn close. So now I'll try maybe going right along the bottom of those. They're all coming. They look pretty close right there. So this is a cool way. Now let's try this bottom one here. This is where I was having troubles before. That looks like it's lying along there pretty well. And let's just see. And you know, sometimes drawings are just kind of messed up. They're just kind of skewed a little bit. Oh, yeah, see, that one's coming off just a little bit. Sometimes, oh, well, yeah, see, that's just not quite going to the right spot. I'm not really up on that. So you can look this one up, but this was where the lunch counter, where the black students from the college went and they sat down and would not leave until they were served. And it was pretty bad. They were beat up, they were harassed, and they kept going back and going back. So somebody was sitting at that lunch counter, which was for whites only at that time, and said, no, we deserve to be served here. And so they were the first ones. And the amazing thing was that they took an incredible amount of verbal and physical abuse to sit at that lunch counter. And then, you know, after like 12 hours, one of them would get up and another student, black student, would come and sit down and take it all over again. And it started a movement all across the nation. And it was one of the defining points of the civil rights movement. So, and to their credit, eventually, Woolworths got their act together. They were one of the first to unintegrate their service to people, but it took that kind of a hassle, and it went on literally for weeks and weeks and weeks. So it was not a shining point in our history, but it was an important point, and it shows the value of sticking to it when you're trying to be treated fairly. So that was a good question. Thank you for bringing that one up, Jake. And it's just you could so here we'll just look that up really quick. Woolworths lunch counter, Greensboro, North Carolina. There it is, right there. So you can learn about it right there. They refused to leave after being denied service. Separate is not equal. So that was the first place where the sit-in started, and of course it spread. It spread. It says here soon spread through college towns. And this happens to be the one. That is the Greensboro Woolworths. So cool. Very interesting. So that's how you do those. And then if you want to do more, what you can do then is go to a different layer so you're drawing in a different color and just draw the parts that look like they define things. So I'll draw from here, here to here. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And now I'll draw a doorway. I'll draw this doorway here. Right? And you can just start drawing this in either by tracing or not. The goal eventually is for you to be able to draw that on your own. Come on, draw a line. There we go. And then you can use those guidelines to draw the building, maybe the sign, and maybe some doors. You want to do the doors, you sort of need a line, a perspective line along the top of the doors. And again, this just looks like a sketch. And if the door is recessed back a little bit, you'll see something like that. And maybe there's a window there. And then maybe there's another door there. So these become guidelines, the perspective lines become guidelines for you. So that you can draw something. And then if you don't want to see a particular type of line, there I got my little perspective drawing of it. So eventually you want to get to the point where you understand perspectives enough. But for this week, I'm perfectly happy if you just go around tracing and getting more and more detail into it, because this takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of understanding. And if we had tracing paper and you could sit in class and we could do a little bit more, it would be a little bit deeper for you. But do you see how these lines gave me the guidelines to draw in? Okay. So that's 1 point perspectives. Any questions about that before I go and do another one? And of course, I'm working in AutoCAD because my SketchUp doesn't work right now. And AutoCAD is fine. It works okay. If your SketchUp is working, it's essentially you're doing exactly the same thing, but you have the SketchUp toolbar up there. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So for my class, I'd like to still see them to know that you drew them in. Okay. And so eventually, of course, if you were doing a real drawing, you would turn it off. But since it's about finding perspective lines, I'd like you to show them in your work. So thank you. That was a good question. Yeah. Well, yeah. It depends on how fast you are and how much time you've got. Yeah. Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's what you can get through. So let's take a look at what the let me go ahead and show the let me make sure. Where is darn it? There it is. Week 2 submittal. So in reality, you just need to be able to fill this out, right? You need to be able to fill this out somehow. And so this one is tracing. If you get one done, that's cool and it's done well. Um, if you get 2 or 3, that's good. This one is asking to show for sure how perspective lines can be drawn in a uh, uh, rough building construction. And again, if it took you hours to do just one, that will be okay. But if you've got 2 or 3, that would be good. This one is a more detailed of a 1-point perspective. So that's like what I was just showing, where you show some windows, show some doors, show some maybe a little bit extra work on it to show that you did a little bit more, and then a little bit more on a 2-point. That's really what I need. The rest of it is there so that you have something to practice with so that you can do this. So you do not need to do everything. The more you do, the more skill you develop. But I really just need to see something on each of these pages, even if it's just one of them. Of course, if you've got 2 or 3, you're going to be closer to a 4 than a 3.5. Yeah, this would be the equivalent of, yeah, yeah, it would be that without these little black lines. So let me go ahead and it would be that right there. So that's what I mean by just be able to show perspective lines on it. Very simple, right? But if you can do that, you've really got it. The rest is just matching up your eye to your hand. Cool. Okay, any other good questions? These are all good questions. This would be one that's more fleshed out, and I'd still want to see a little bit more, right? If you know how to do lettering, by the way, you could put lettering in here. But you might want to show on this one that there were some windows up here, that there were some little curvy things down here, that there was maybe a something through the middle of this. There was maybe a sidewalk. I don't need to see the cars. Cars are pretty hard to do, right? Maybe you would show something that showed that there was a little door handle there. Maybe you would show something that there was some writing along here. There, I just made writing, right? But somebody would get the point. Okay, if you do want to put text up here, excuse me, it's a little bit hard. So let's see. So this is still a 1-point perspective because I'm only showing one line of perspective. A 2-point perspective. So let me do the text thing here, and then I'm going to answer Leah's question. You can do a very cool thing in Express Tools, which is arc aligned text. Pick that. Oh, I need an arc. So let me come back here and do an arc along here and do arc aligned text. Come on. Press tools, arc aligned text. And I don't know what my text height should be. I'm going to say it's 1. Oh, that was too big. My text height was way too big. Where's my text height on here? There it is. There. Come on, I want to move it. So if you know some of this other stuff, you're welcome to put it in there. This is totally not necessary. Totally not necessary. Yep. So that was in, I drew an arc and I did Express Tools, text aligned to arc. But you can also do one called text fit, but I don't want to do that right now. We'll do that on a later spot. Okay, so is this one being recorded? Yeah, I still have the recording on for this. So there we go. Okay, so now 2-point perspective. Let me see if I can find 2-point perspective. In my sketching material, let's go to 2-point perspective. Here's a 2-point perspective. So I'm gonna download that one. Make myself a new little sheet over here. Yeah. 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 Yep. Yeah. So that blue stuff says that you've just made an enclosed region and you can put your view into wireframe mode and it won't show that. Um or you can just make sure that you don't close in any regions. So but I'll demonstrate that, but our SketchUp is down right now. Yeah. 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 So you can Google visual style wireframe and that should do it. Okay. So Leah, here is an example of a 2-point perspective because you'll see that the lines go and converge. One set converges this way. But the other side of the building converges in a different direction. So there's 2 perspective points. And it just depends on where you're standing and how high you are and all that kind of stuff as to whether these are on the same horizon line or a different or above or below. So don't worry about the fact that these are in different spots. But this would be the example of a 2-point. Now let me see if I can get this one to... I don't think I've got that other one in a very good spot, but... Yeah, see, that didn't work. So I didn't do a very good trace on this one at all. The other thing you can do is just take them out and go, I wonder what it looks like if I take it out there. Oh, that's not too bad. There's lots and lots of ways you can do this. You know, a good one to do would be to put this one on. And now I can start drawing if I want to start drawing more details, I can just draw some little lines here. And if you know more commands, this gets really quick. If you don't know very many commands, you would just do some of these. Because there's a lot of these little sticks to draw, right? And if you don't know a lot of AutoCAD commands, you're going to draw a lot of little sticks. And you're going to get tired of it. But if you do know the commands, you can do the array command and trim and all sorts of other things. Okay? So do you want the perspective lines as well as the sketching together? So again, you're going to do one that just shows that you can do these perspective lines. So you'll do one of these that's plain for 1 point and 2 point. On this one right here, show how perspective lines can be found. So you should put a 1 point and a 2 point. So you should put essentially this drawing with the image shown and wherever it happens to be. I don't know where it went. I had it somewhere. Woolworth. What happened to my Woolworth? You would put those two on here, and then you would take some time to make one of them better. So you would maybe take some time and draw a couple of these. Probably have to draw that roof, which is kind of hard because it's not a horizontal line in reality, so it's not going to go out. Right? So if a line is not really a horizontal line in the real world, it's not going to follow the perspective lines. So here, you could just kind of go, okay, yeah, I'm going to draw a little bit of a roof. And then this part of the roof is going to follow the perspective lines. And then I'm going to have some posts. And then a whole bunch of these little things. And I'm going to follow that perspective line. Kinda. And then I know I've got a perspective line running along there. So you can see then how this would turn into the drawing pretty quickly, right? So if you did some and some, that would be pretty cool for your one that shows more work. And again, if you could figure out how to sketch it without tracing, that's even better. But I'm not going to struggle that through for you guys. If you want to trace it, that's fine, so long as you understand where the perspective lines are. Cool? Does that help answer your question, Leah? Cool. Yeah. No. So what I'm looking for that is if you drew the Edmund Pettus Bridge, write just a little bit of something about the Edmund Pettus Bridge. If you drew the Woolworth building, what is the Woolworth building? So you could go and go, okay, oh yeah, I looked up the Woolworth building. That was wherever it went. Yeah, you could just go, what was it? Oh, okay, right there. You could take that, just to let somebody know, like, why did you draw that building? Oh, because it was cool. I love Woolworth buildings, and look what great architecture that was. Nah, I mean, um, so this lets you just pick a little something on it. Now, on the industrial one, that would be like, huh, you could look up and just find out, what's going on with industrial buildings. What do we know about them? What are they like? How long do they last? What are some examples? What are the types? Industrial properties explained. You could maybe just say, hey, this is an industrial building, and there's lots of different types, and there's this might be a warehouse, it might be manufactured. So you can just do it's probably not a showroom or light. It could be light manufacturing. Okay, it doesn't look like a biotech lab, but you could make something up. This looks like a warehouse, bank. Put in something like that. Just something that shows, oh yeah, that looks like an industrial building. I've looked up something about industrial buildings. Cool. Okay, good stuff. Any other last questions before I turn the recording off? Okay, recording just turned